Welcome, beloved souls, to this living transmission of light. I have been guided to anchor into the interstellar gateway and interdimensional gateway that is open and activated through me, which is anchored into one of the golden timelines of Atlantis. And this was a time at which Yeshua was king of Atlantis. And as a high priestess, I was a key code keeper. I was a key code carrier. So as a rose code carrier, I am a purity code keeper. So the rose codes, although they were of their purest and highest vibration in the rise of Atlantis and Lemuria and the interdimensional golden timelines, as these interdimensional timelines became, there's other timelines, just as there are for us in this incarnate cycle and all other incarnate cycles. The golden timelines are actually usually forgotten, and the reason why is because those of us that are connected to those golden timelines, we shielded ourselves from remembering that connection so that the cycles of the organic lower density timelines could fulfill themselves. And now it is time, of course, as we are in the age of Aquarius, it is a time of illumination, it is a time of remembrance. So these access points, these gateways, were held under lock and key, if you will. And we were able to access them again. We have been consistently accessing them through our own internal blueprint activation. So it's very, very important because right now, so many are awakening to the truth that you are here as something more than just what you have seen in your incarnate cycles of being human. But I would like for you to recognize that if you find resonance with this transmission, you could be a keeper of codes or a keeper of gateways or a keeper of wisdom, a keeper of truth, a keeper of crystals. This is something that I had actually, I've always spoken into being a triadic template holder, which is a convergence of stellar gateways. So, and I've always, spoken into my truth of being a star mother, a dragon mother, a guardian of gateways. So I've always very much identified and understood myself in those roles because on a galactic, universal level, monadic level, that is where I am operating. And I have access to that through this incarnate cycle from stepping into and upholding my highest truth. And this is available, every single one of you have not only your higher self, but you have your monad and you have your cosmic monad, your universal monad, you have your monadic groupings, which are the familial avatars, if you will, of your monad, of your universal monad, your cosmic monad, your higher self. So you have many avatars where you are incarnate in other arenas, other galaxies, other dimensions. So when you begin to access your highest truth, you begin to open your own gateways within. You are a conduit. Now, of course, not everyone is going to identify as a key keeper or a code keeper or a wisdom keeper, but for those that resonate, recognize that as you begin to awaken deeper and further, you are able to access this role through the activation of your own living light. So if you are having a hard time accessing that, I highly recommend joining up with others that have already gained this access, that are offering such, whether it be myself or someone else that you feel more aligned with, because this is your access point. This is how you really begin to step into that purpose, that highest purpose, and call in your higher self, call in your galactic and cosmic and stellar guides, those of the highest love and light resonance and ordinance, and start asking for clarity and guidance on who you should connect with, or if it's, it is time. I will say that much. It is time. And the purpose of many of us here in this incarnate cycle are to be in sacred service and offering from that point. Like, that's the only reason why we're here. So we are not doing anything else but that. So that's why we are here offering from that space, is to assist others in the stepping into that so that they can access their pyramid of light. That's the way I see it. It's I actually noted this in a lot of my notes, which I don't make public anymore, simply because I've had other quote unquote spiritual guides and channels that were not working for the highest timeline or the highest light, that were attempting to manipulate and use my stuff. So I kind of kept them under lock and key again, if you will. So, but I am going to share a few things here that I had already made note of that was coming into greater clarity. So I just recently joined a community with fellow grid workers, and I want to give a shout out to that community, because even though I've just joined, I've already begun receiving continual activation. And one of the things that came through was that, as stated, I had worked as a key code. My incarnate cycle was as a high priestess with Yeshua. He was a king at the time, and his role was the king of Atlantis. So as a high priestess to the king of Atlantis, we were the grid keepers. We were the code keepers. So we upheld the infrastructure of the interdimensional plane through the anchoring of stellar gateways and interdimensional gateways, cosmic gateways. And of course, the king of Atlantis very much does this as well. It's not a king as we know a king today, or at least that's not how I see it or how I receive it. It's just merely a fulfillment of a higher point of bestowed service. So the king is actually one that is in high sacred service. And it was in preparation, because if you think about it, when you hear about Jesus or Christ, you hear about him being a king. But a lot of times this has been, of course, a bit manipulated in the story as to what a king in regards to him means. Because we are all receiving crowns of higher consciousness through our Christed connection, our Christed consciousness connection. This began, the whole energetic fulfillment of this began when he was incarnate, and actually when many of us were incarnate in this cycle of the golden timelines. We were setting up the infrastructure of the way that this fulfillment of the age of Aquarius would play out. We were energetically stepping into our roles as the different blueprints, the different archetypes, and I'm sorry, architects, not archetypes. We were fulfilling our roles as the different architects. So when you are a grid keeper, you're a builder. You are building these infrastructures of light, and every single keeper works in conjunction with the next. That's the way I see it. That's the way I receive it and understand it and remember it. Some work more intricately with others, but they all work together. They all serve a role, and their role carries a specific frequency. And that frequency, when layered and layered upon itself by the consistent incorporation, it builds a new realm of existence. That's how we are creating heaven on earth, but we are connecting to these golden timelines to do this. So I had actually not had access to that, but I knew it was there, like almost like that. It's interesting. It's kind of how I would say the shadow self is, but not the shadow self. Like, it's that aspect of self that was just there, and I knew it was there, but I couldn't quite get to it because I wasn't ready. I can feel like I would have probably denied it, because even now as I speak this truth, this is a big thing for me to say this, especially publicly, because taking on that responsibility of owning your truth and owning what you are here to fulfill and what you kept hidden from yourself, because stepping into your light in such a way and shining so brightly, the 3D world is just simply not accepting of that. And so many of you have had some amazing and are still incarnate in some really amazing fulfillments of purpose. And I would love for you to harness into that. I would love for you to connect into that. And that's, even as I'm saying this, I'm actually activating myself. It's crazy as I'm speaking this truth, because it's a brand new truth that's come through for me. And I know that many of you are very familiar with the Ascended Masters because you've had other incarnate cycles with them. Myself, I knew that I was incarnate with Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and Isis. I have a very close relationship with them. I have worked with them in other planetary incarnate cycles, such as the Venusian gateway is a gateway. It's a portal that I have access to. And I bring this in, just as those in my soul pod know. I have brought this in many times because I have graduated from the ascension of Venus and Isis, Mary Magdalene, Yeshua. They're all avatars that have also undergone graduation from there, Ra as well. So what we know of our planets in 3D is much different, of course, in 4D, 5D, 6D. We start to access these interdimensional planes and these planetary and galactic, cosmic, stellar gateways. So I'm really starting to own my position as a gatekeeper and as a guardian of gateways, because I've also always known it to be a rite of passage. So you have to reach a certain frequency of attunement to access it, which is why activations are so important. So in the latter part of this, I am going to speak some specific tonalities of activation. And I just invite you to step in, receive, and see what's here for you. Allow yourself to just allow the energy to take you on a journey and see what you can experience, see what you can receive, and see how you are activated. And I will see you on the other side.
Cái anh là xí ở gì ai oya satana ya kia zero toro zero toro kayo na saya toy akum atash zanani ko na zatash ay zatash Nanano na sui aquis, nono sui na sui. Ashkutaraktosh andarata tukutai, kuntai. Kushkatarata tu katuya katai. Shoyakai niakuya. Karatata kuya kaka. Anay okay anay oya kuya ay nasa tayo kuya no siya tayo kuya na siya tayo kuya na oy tiya to siya ta na inanano makuya kuya Joyati no soto Asu kuish as anasu kuya satay. Niana kaya. Atiana kaya. Atatatay. Atay. Shoyasun inasukui. Kunanana tuish anana yokuti. Nanana suyakiaku. Sakiaku. Kia sutana ya tia kuya. Cái anh là xí ở gì ai oya satana ya kia zero toro zero toro kayo na saya toy akum atash zanani ko na